What is up, friends? We are back here talking Ryder Cup golf. As you can see, I'm super excited. I'm here with Andy Lack. This might be crazy. I think I like this event maybe more than any major. I mean it. I am all in here, Andy. I love it. We get to see the personality of these guys more so than any other time in the year. Rory's bowling after singles last year. Cantley's got a beer in one hand, two in each of the back pockets. It's the best. It is the best. It is Ryder Cup week. Go to Odds Checker. There are so many markets. Make sure you're getting the best number when you get in on the action, Andy. Let's go.
I don't think it's a crazy take. I think I'm kind of in the same boat. I mean, outside of having to navigate being on the West Coast for this event and the fact that I will be watching this in the middle of the night, it kind of really makes you think, how many more events would I completely destroy my sleep schedule and watch golf at 2 a.m. for? And the list is very short for me. You know, I particularly like Ryder Cups in Europe more for some reason. I think that I went to Whistling Straits last year, Jeff, and I think it fell a little bit flat just because the US had such a game plan in terms of what they wanted to accentuate in terms of their skill set from a course setup perspective. What's so fun about this Ryder Cup is, like, the European team plays American golf,
Yep.
right? Like, the big boppers on the European team destroy every PGA Tour course. So is it even in the Europe's best interest to set this up like Le Golf National and have this be a wedges and putting fest when you have 4 of the 5 best drivers of the ball in the world? That's what I'm most curious to watch this week, Jeff. And I guess it kind of brings us to, like, the big overarching question before we get into some of the exotics. Like, that Europe line has been hit, and I'm seeing at some places, like, there's a pick 'em, man, which is, in my opinion, what it always should have been.
I talked about it all summer. I made my bet on Friday afternoon of the Open Championship. This was no disrespect to Ricky Fowler, Wyndham Clark, Brian Harman, who was winning by felt like a touchdown. I just like, no, it is now time. It is now time. This thing's going to be fun. It's going to be tight. It's in Europe. Whatever I thought at the conclusion of Whistling Straits doesn't matter anymore. Whatever I thought the team would look like at Christmas doesn't matter anymore, Andy. And I got in. Now, I bet America and just like free roll it. I do not know. I'm going to have so much fun with this, talking to you for the next few minutes, breaking it down, sharing our favorite props. Before we get into it, to let you know, hit the link below, get into the contest. It's a pick'em contest. Win Amazon gift cards from us at Odds Checkered. Answer all sorts of questions. Who do you think is going to win the event? Who do you think is going to win day 3 singles? Andy, let me throw one at you just before we get into it. Top Englishman. Team Europe, top Englishman. Fitz, Fleetwood, Hatton, Rose. These are the questions in the contest. You're going to take Andy's answer right now. Maybe you'll copy it. Maybe you won't. You could play against us. We can't win the prizes. Don't worry. You can beat us and win prizes. What do you got, Andy? Top Englishman.
I think I'd go with Hatton because I think we are going to see, if the practice rounds are any indication, I think we may see a lot of Hatton and Rahm together, which is just chef's kiss. I mean, just inject all of that for me. I love that pairing, not just from a statistical standpoint, from a pure entertainment theater standpoint as well. I think Hatton's going to have a huge week. I mean, we may get to him in some of the exotic and prop markets as well, but Hatton would be my choice for that as well. What about yourself?
I'm leaning where you're leaning, that there's a chance he goes out with Rahm, so maybe that would be blind, but I think they're going to need the whole group sort of there outside of Rose. I'll say Fleetwood because we'll stick with what I always do on this
Why
show.
not?
I don't
Who
got
may
really
end up
much else.
playing
I
a
don't
lot
got
of golf with Rory, by the way, too. I mean, you may get a Rory Fleetwood pairing that gets a ton of run.
Yeah, so let's get into it, Andy. What am I supposed to do now? Like, I've bet Europe. I've got the best number in house. It is now Pick'em. You can still get some plus 115s looking at that odds checker grid where they've got all the markets up. Over at DraftKings, you can still get them plus 115. It seems to be the best number available. I love this event too much. I'm just letting it ride. I won big on the US last time. You're the American here. I am just got no horse in the race, but we found that best number. So I don't have much to offer on the current line. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I was not as lucky as you. I did not have the foresight that you had. I think if you bet this number, if you got anything above plus 150, you have a wonderful number. And of course, I'm kicking myself for not acting earlier. There were a lot of things that happened that required foresight over the last couple of months that caused that line to go down, Jeff. Ludwig has turned from a guy that was playing college golf at Texas Tech that 1% of golf fans knew into somebody that like a lot of people think is like a bona fide, like top 20 guy in the world. Right. And based on, he's already won now in across the pond on the European Tour with a bunch of strong finishes on the PGA Tour as well. Now, can't really argue it's not justified, right? A lot of those Europeans that we had some questions about down the stretch, like a lot of them played better than the Americans. Like we did not see Jordan Spieth play good golf down the stretch of this year. We did not see Justin Thomas, Colin Morikawa, Brooks Koepka has had one good week all season and just had a child. Like a lot of those Americans that caused that line to be Americans as the heavy favorites all throughout the summer. Like there just seems to be a lot more questions entering that team, even at the high end, right? Like Scotty Scheffler's putter. Again, Victor Hovland over the last 3 months. Is there anybody in the world that's arguing against him being a top 4 to 5 guy in the world right now? Right. So it's like there were a lot of contributing factors that happened over the last couple of months to cause this line to plummet. This is the only reason I'm not beating myself up too much for not acting as early as you are. With that being said, I see no value in the current betting price. I think this is a coin flip. I think it's always been a coin flip.
If I didn't have a bet, Andy, if I did not have a bet, I would, and maybe I should still do this. I'd be betting Europe by a point at like 12 to 1, America to win by a point at like 12 to 1. That's the sort of stuff. Like I'd be betting the sides, to win by 1 or 3 points, because blowout would truly shock me.
That's the one outcome that would shock me. A blowout on either side is the one
17 to 10 or whatever we got last. Like nothing like that is going to come close to happening here. It's going to be so incredible. The competition, I cannot wait. Like you will be up in the middle of the night. So yeah, I got a no pick. I got a no pick on the current outright market. I would try to get fancy with maybe exact scores or winning by 1 to 3 points here, Andy. And to top all off everything you said, Americans didn't win a lot of golf tournaments. They just didn't win a lot. Guys that won didn't make the team, and that's not to relitigate Lucas or Keegan. I'm not even here to do that. But the guys that won on the Americans were the guys that played onto the team, like Fowler and Wyndham and Harman. And in a weird way, you can make a case. I'm not saying Cantley and Schauffele are better than Hatton and Fleetwood, but their seasons were identical. A lot of great weeks, a lot of close finishes, a lot of incredible stats, and you could argue guys like Fleetwood and Hatton actually outdid them in many respects in a season of totality with very little wins and the Scheffler putter. The top of the team looks much stronger for Europe. The top of the team looks much stronger, and I suspect that they run their dragons, that they run them out, like that they play the crap out of those horses at the very, very top. So lay it on me, Andy. I got bets. You got bets. Let's just maybe run through our props here and see what the how long the paper is.
Are the Real quick before I get into it, because I have a prop that I really like that I actually think could help answer the question of what I would personally do if I was holding a big European ticket at plus 150 or above. Are the only three American winners of on this team of the major season since the Masters, the three guys that won the majors, Clark, Brian Harman, and Brooks. And those are the only guys that have won on the American team. No, Homa hasn't won since. Burns hasn't won since the Masters. Morikawa, no. Spieth, no. Thomas, no.
And it's not all
Cantlay,
about winning.
No. Schauffele, no. I just think it's interesting. It's a total aside. But as it regards to what I would do in your position / what my favorite prop is. So the one that I feel most confident about, Jeff, I love this one. Hear me out on this one. Europe to win the first session on Friday morning. And let me explain to you why I am convinced that this is going to happen. Luke Donald said in his press conference, Luke Donald has alluded to two things in his press conference. Number one, the host country, remember with the Ryder Cup, gets to pick the order of the sessions, whether it's foursomes or four balls first. Luke Donald said the reason why we are doing alternate shot first is because our analytics department believes that is the format that we have the biggest edge in. So we want that to be first off in the morning because we want to build a lead and never look back. That is the first thing that Donald has said. So those Europeans believe that when it comes to alternate shot, that is their biggest edge over four balls. And looking at the teams based on my numbers, I would agree with them. That speaks to the coherency, the chemistry. I think the history they have crushed in foursomes throughout the last couple of Ryder Cups. That's reason number one. Reason number two, the Luke Donald has also alluded to multiple times that this golf course is incredibly hilly, incredibly physically opposing, and he is not afraid, especially if they get a lead, to sit one of his stars before singles and give one of their big guns a rest. I would not be surprised if over the four sessions, we saw one of those big guys rest once or twice based on the comments that Luke Donald has made about the hilly and physically imposing nature of this golf course. The one session that I can say with certainty that all of Europeans' big guns will be playing is Friday morning. I do not understand why this is not minus odds. That is my favorite prop of the entire week. And if I was in your position, Jeff, I would wait for the Euros to take a lead on Friday morning and then bet the US at an even bigger number before Friday afternoon.
Andy, that's why I got you here, buddy. That was just great information. I look forward to placing. I'm crazy. I'll probably double down on that bet on my European position to then hopefully come back in and play exactly as you have stated. And that'll get us going right out of the gate. Let's just get into the popular markets here quickly. Top overall point scorer, top individual team score. I'll get it out of the way. I have bet Rory to be the top overall point scorer at this event at 9-1. Am I a sucker for those tears at the end of Whistling Straits? Yeah, probably. To think like he's a guy that in some ways has mentally convinced themselves that FedEx Cup are more important than they are, which means the Ryder Cup is 10 times more important than maybe it even is. He's a true fitness icon. If they got to double barrel him, he can do it all throughout. He's older. Maybe he does rest, but I trust Rory will be just the absolute dragon that he wasn't at Whistling Straits.
I'm with you. I think that there even could be some gamesmanship on the side of Donald, right? With the comments about resting some of his guys. I think if there is the safest bet on any, on the European side to get the most run, you're basically choosing between Rory, Rahm, and Hovland, right? And 185 days, Jeff, until that first tee shot at the Masters, right? Like this is all Rory's got, right? If there's anything that can remove the stank in his mouth from another majorless season, it's a memorable week in Rome. Wyndham Clark's already given him the bulletin board material.
Well, let's go.
If you're asking me, we both love Hovland. We're both massive Hovland guys, but you're buying Hovland at peak of market right now, right? Like the secret's out on Hovland, the secret's out on Ludwig. If you're asking where the value is, because those Ludwig and Hovland odds have dropped, I see more opportunity on Rory and Rahm.
And I will have to acknowledge I've got Ludwig like on a ladder here. Good numbers from early on top rookie, top captain's pick, but putting that now with how the numbers have crushed, who knows? And maybe if he's not even playing in the first session, then I'll probably feel stupid. It is worth noting. I had something so smart I wanted with Rory. Andy, it's sad, but Poulter's not here. Captain, like Vices, Stenson, GMAC. It's a total new guard, and it's been handed to him now. He was always one of the best players, but from a leadership standpoint, he didn't have to do it. There was such a guard ahead of him from that aspect of what was required. Well, I know Rahm is big. It's been handed from Seve to Sergio to him, but Rory is truly going to captain these guys. And I believe it in points as well, won on the golf course.
Totally agree. I think we're seeing a new guard for both sides, right? I mean, gone are the Tiger Phil, Jim Furyk days on the U.S. side. Gone are the Sergio, Poulter, Westwood, Stenson days on the European side. We're ushering a new era with this European team in Rahm and Rory and probably Hovland as kind of the de facto guys that we can count on for the next dozen years. I want to ask you a final question. And I want you to give me kind of a quick hitter on either side, because this is something that we can get our bases covered with both, top US point score, top European point score, top rookie, top wild card, giving kind of our guy at the back end for each team, I think can cover a lot of markets. So who is the guy for you? We'll start on the European side. Who is that X factor than you? It can't be Rory. It can't be Rahm. It can't be Hovland. We know those guys are going to show up. But Jeff, the reality of the situation is, even if those guys do the heavy lifting that they need to, if Europe wins, we're still sitting here on Sunday night saying, wow, Justin Rose went 3-0, or wow, Shane Lowry went 3-0-1, or Matt Fitzpatrick went 3-0-1, or how about those surprise 2.5 points for Nikolai Højgaard? Who's your European on the middle to back end that you think provides some value?
So obviously a cop-out maybe would be Ludwig, and I think there's a chance he goes out with one of the true dragons, and then they can win their first match and have a chance for a great Ryder Cup. But in not taking that chalk and not saying, I think two of if Fleetwood and Fitzpatrick can create the Mollywood sort of thing, then Europe has no chance of losing, because the other captain, the top guys will win enough points to supplement what would happen there. So now I'm too deep and getting creative. Højgaard, Pat Mayo has talked me into we've seen Thomas Peters, we've seen Cole, you've seen a lot of European young guys just come out and have these most bonkers weeks. Højgaard would be my totally off the radar one that I've been talked into on Americans. And Sam Burns with the States. I think he's a killer. Match play. He didn't go great from the President's Cup, but they brought him there, and that would be my random shot on the other side.
Okay, I'll provide two other names for each side. I'm actually a little bit more chalk than you. I feel like I'm maybe not sticking my neck out as much as you. I just think Hatton's going to kick butt this week.
Totally.
I think they're going to put him with Rahm. I think there's value on Hatton in top European point scorer if you don't want to go down.
I almost felt he was too good to mention with that other, right, but exactly. I totally agree. If he's over, he's over 15-1. The prices are fair. You're totally right. He could unleash this. If he plays to his statistics, you don't have to win a golf tournament. You just got to win the holes. Oh my God. Will he be amazing? Yeah. Andy, we probably got 1 or 2 minutes left. I got to tell you where I laid juice. Because last time it was a brown bag behind a gas station responsibly on the Americans. and this isn't that kind of bet, but I've laid juice. I've stepped in front of Brooks Koepka. Under 2.5 points, minus 175. I'm fearful maybe if Zach is cool, he pairs him with Scotty to like give Scotty just a dog to like pull him through this fight. But I don't think
I would not want to see that pairing if I were the Euros.
Yeah, me too.
Doesn't mean Zach's going to do it, but
Scotty needs a kick in the ass, and I would put Brooks Koepka with him. I swear to God, I would. But I think Zach could be playing a little checkers and doesn't see it. Doesn't see it. I'm under on Brooks Koepka, 2.5 points. I don't think he plays a ton. I had this bet in before the picture came out, which I don't care about that he's not on it. He was just in Chicago for live. He went home to probably see his baby and wife before he had to head over to this. But Brooks, under 2.5. He's also been playing horribly. Under 2.5. That's my big juice bet of the week.
I love it. Where are you finding those markets? Are those available? Because I have a couple
they're starting to show up. I use the grid. It's sort of offshore, but we're full disclosure here. You have books all over the place.
Yeah. No, that's a good market to accentuate because I've hearing a lot of, I think my big zag, and we'll end on this one, is it seems like the popular unquantifiable, this guy's got that dog in him, he's going to show up, is everybody's choosing Brian Harman as the guy on the US that's just going to show up. I think he's the worst course fit in the field. I think he's a legitimate liability for the American team. And so I have a couple friendly wagers with a couple of my buddies that think he's got that dog in him, that Brian Harman is going to go under. So I think that's a very fun and interesting market to highlight. And the last guy we didn't mention too is I'm pretty high on Max Homa this week too.
Yep.
I think Max Homa can navigate this golf course pretty well. And I do think that from everything I've heard from the press conferences, I think the American side, Zach doesn't seem to be too deep of a thinker. I think he's just going to go with what he's got. I think the Europeans will switch things up. We'll see Rory and Hovland, Rory and Ludwig and
if
Rory.
JT struggles, let me ask you this. Here's my question to you. We can leave on it. If JT struggles, where do they go next with Spieth?
Fowler probably, or Scheffler. That's the thing that's so underrated in this is the analytics. You could make an argument. I don't know if this is the best fit because I have concerns about Spieth's course fit too, but let's not act like Spieth doesn't play every single one of his practice rounds in Dallas with the best player in the world. If Burns or Thomas by some chance go off the rails, it's not like Spieth and Scheffler don't play a tremendous amount of golf together with Romo at Dallas National. Anyway, we could do another hour.
We could do it. I love Andy. I love it all, from the gala pictures with the wives and the fancy ball dresses, to the end of day press conferences, to the end of tournament press conferences, to salivating to see the next day's grid. I love it all. I hope everyone has an incredible Ryder Cup. Odds Checkers got all these markets up, so make sure you get the best number. Hit that link below. Get in on the contest. Beat Andy and I. Favorite week of the golf season. And it matches with a football Sunday. Spoiled.